It is I, John Dyer Talon, here bringing you the greatest malware games ever made. Now, you guys been telling me about this dude, Raymond Cripps, some YouTuber that's stealing my scam game. What has he called it? Freaking Project Feline? Man, what a lame name. Well, yeah, so he's trying to turn it into like an actual video game, and that's not cool. We gotta spread the malware, guys. That's what we gotta do. Save me, John Dyer Talon. No, I just tricked you guys. Don't freak out. It's just me. It is the real me. It's the real Raymond. No scammers. For they're mostly all gone now. Mostly all gone. I hope I didn't frighten you. I hope not. I have not heard more reports of the malware going around, thankfully, so I'd like to think it's dealt with enough, but who knows? You never know what's going to happen in this day and age. Oh my god, where's John? No, it's me, John Feline. Okay, sorry. My name isn't Raymond anymore. It's the real John Feline. Go check that tweet. What tweet? Did the hackers tweet something? Did they post on their twitter.com? I was worried I would need to catch up on the stream. Oh! Get it? Because it says cat? Oh my god, that's so funny. Hey, Luca. Hey, guys. Hey, Cosmic. Good. My man, Cosmic, you're easy to talk to because you're the only one in Twitch chat, so I just see your message all on its own. So that's I'm going to call this the Cosmic Hiroshi window instead of Twitch now. So that's the chat I want to talk to if I want to talk to Cosmic specifically. And then the common rabble are all in YouTube chat. I'm liking this system. I like how that's working. How is everyone? No, you can't ask me that question, Luca. I asked you first. Maybe you asked me first. But I'm doing okay. I've got the next hour to tell you how I'm doing, but you got to tell me how you're doing first. Okay, that's the rules now. I'm changing the rules. I can't tell you what I'm doing until I know what everyone else is doing. How's everyone else doing? Oh my god, the real John Feline. Yeah, it's the real one this time. The last 5 times, it's actually not been the real one. It's been John Dyer Talon. I love that that's like... It does sound like the name of a villain, doesn't it? It's like... I just imagine Calder pulling Gabby aside saying, Gabby, we gotta stop this Dyer Talon. Dr. Dyer Talon is coming for you. And she's like, I know, we gotta do something. We gotta shut them down. I don't know. It sounds like a villain name, doesn't it? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Luca's doing all right. Some things happen, but okay right now. Oh, that's good. Well, you know, things do happen, okay? I've seen some things happen myself. And I'm really okay right now as well, now that I'm here. Now that I'm here and not John Dyer Talon. Freddy A to B? Well, why'd you do that? Why? But why? Nova Fox says, your last stream was the truth. The truth. Interesting. It's like you perfectly described a psyop that I've thought about for years. We need better quality across the board. Well, thank you. I've thought a lot more about that in the last week. And there's maybe I'll show the video first. There is a video I'm doing that isn't exactly... It's like parallel to some of that stuff, but it's... What I'm basically trying to do... Because the last video I made, it was... I don't know what it is, but I've noticed that the trending topic of discussion in game development now is Unreal 5. And what I'm trying to do is like make a bridge between what I talked about last, which is Unreal 5, and this other stuff that I talked about on stream last week and the stuff that I think about more often. Because when I'm here working, I don't give the engine like a second thought. I just don't think about it. But 400,000 people do, apparently. And that's just... I'm just kind of angry that that's what people care about. Like, I don't know if this sounds kind of out of pocket or something, but it annoys me so much that people care about Unreal 5 gossip or whatever. And I don't like it. Hold on, I opened my stream on my... I'm trying to get my desktop. Where's my desktop? Where's my old desktop? I want to show that. I don't want you looking at my it might, I know my skin isn't breaking out probably, but if you looked close enough, it would start to, and that's embarrassing. I can't have that. But yeah, like this, because I know it's been 2 months since the last upload, right? So I've worked on a video just to put out there because this character devlog is just so complicated, and I needed to spend a good while looking away from it because, you know, I don't know, when you work on something for a video, I get this sometimes, where if you work on the one video long enough, you will watch it, you will hear the words spoken, you will see the visuals, and it just won't process anymore. Like, you don't understand, like, even though it's me writing and recording it, I don't, like, understand what I'm talking about. And it's like, I'm just so tired of looking at this thing. I need to work on something else. So, but the last one I uploaded here about is Unreal 5 or whatever. And it's like, I'm annoyed that this is a topic that is, like, that is worth this much attention. I don't think it's worth that much attention. Hold on. How do I... Because if you scroll down, there's so much discussion in here about, oh, well, you should have done it in this engine, or this engine would have been good, or UE4, yeah, man, UE4, and it's like people think that it's like the game is going to be good because I'm using Unreal 4, or because because of the choice of software. As if that, like, I don't think it, like, the whole point of this video is that it doesn't matter. I'm just using what's familiar. But I think the lessons everyone's taken away from this, I don't have time to read all this, but there's so many things in here about, like, this stuff, I don't care about all of this. About, like, well, Godot is actually better than all this, or in Unity is better than all this. And it's like, you know, I've seen cool people make cool things in, like, let's think, what was Half-Life 1 made in? What, Gold Source? And that was an incredible game, wasn't it? So who cares? If it's like an old engine, a new engine, it doesn't really matter. And I'm trying to figure out what it is that I forgot to, like, say in this, because there's something I probably didn't mention that would have made sense of what it is I actually care about. And it is not the engine. But I think what I've now started to figure out is that there is I guess I hadn't worked out how to say in this video is that the engine is secondary to its user. And I guess in a way that kind of segues a little into what I was talking about in that last stream. Because I was talking about the internet. I was like going on this big rant about the internet, right? And about blogs and the old web and websites. And we'll get into a bit of that as well. I've been making some progress on that too. But while we're on the topic of that last stream, I just want to, like, we'll have a bit of back and forth for a short while here. I'm going to put up some code on the screen here so I can see the chat window. So you can see that I've been writing some cool code. I've been actually writing text code this time. Isn't that incredible? Pretty cool. But we'll get to that in a moment. Gold Source. Yeah. Like, now I haven't used Gold Source or all this stuff. I haven't used, like, but the point is that it's like, I look at all the amazing games that because I didn't play Half-Life, but I did play, like, early PS2 games, like Ratchet & Clank, early 3D Sonic, and stuff like that. And you'll notice a trend with all of these games, and like Halo 3, like any legendary game you could ever think of, Titanfall 2, Halo 3, any legendary game that came out a while ago that is still relevant. If you notice a common trend with all of them, is that you don't notice what engine they were made in. The only reason you know the engine is only with Valve games specifically, because they make their own one. And they make a deal to, like, tell people about it. It's like, oh, this is our source engine or whatever. And it just so happens that that specific engine is, like, the godfather of every game engine ever. So, like, they get a pass there, but no one is playing, I don't think anyone is playing, like, source games on that merit alone. Unless the actual games, like, Half-Life wasn't good because it was made with Gold Source. It was good because it was made by whoever worked on it, and the specific things, skills that those people had, and the specific attitudes those people had, and the specific things those people thought about and wanted to make with Gold Source. It's got nothing to actually do with Gold Source. Although it might be a great engine. It might be great. But it's like, I've noticed that I started picking up on this with Unreal a few years back, when they put so much, like, what would you say? They put so much stock into... Hold on. Is my light good? Is it too dark in here? I forgot to do my lighting beforehand. Let me check on that. Oh, it's a bit... Okay, is this too bright? That is... No, I gotta adjust my exposure. I forgot to... I always do that before every stream because the settings keep resetting and that... it's annoying. Let me just adjust the... God, where's the exposure? But as I was saying... Hold on, the streamception here. I turn it off automatic. I don't want automatic. I just want the gain at... that looks... Yeah, I like that level. 71. Actually, no, because it's... I want it on a divisible by 4. We'll do 64. That's a little too dark. We'll do 100. 100 looks good. But, you know, like, Unreal started making this popular, right? Where it's like they make the engine part of the marketing. You guys notice that? Where it's like every game that's made in Unreal does not make it unknown. It does. They aren't shy about the fact that it's made in Unreal. And I used to lean into it because I didn't really have any other merits to lean on. And I started realizing that is kind of a cop-out, if that makes sense. So you'll notice on the early Project Feline website and pages, I would have said, oh, and I was like, this is the game I'm making in Blender and Unreal, as if that's special, as if that's not what everyone else is doing, right? And I realized about a year ago to just stop doing that, because I realized that it really shouldn't matter. And I don't know what it is, but I just see I see a lot of indie projects will also do this now, because I did it because there was no other merit, where it's like, well, I don't feel confident enough in my gameplay and stuff, but if I tell people it's made in Unreal, they might, you know, it's a real game or something. But there are a lot of bad games made in Unreal. So it kind of cancels that whole argument out, doesn't it? And I don't, like, yeah. So I don't want to, like, I'm kind of tired of, like, the whole engine race war or whatever you want to call it. It's like the Xbox versus PlayStation, which was funny in retrospect, but if you were there for that, because I guess the console market or whatever, the consoles are so dead now of a thing that no one really cares that much. But if you were growing up in 2007 at school, that was like the #1 warfare, where if you had the wrong console, if all your friends were Xbox 360 and you were PS3, it was over. And that actually kind of mattered for a bit. But it kind of didn't at the end of the day, because, you know, most of the games were released on both. There wasn't that much difference between the two. It was still 30 FPS, 720p either way. So, you know, and people had great memories with all of them. And there's an area I want to take this to instead, because I'm just annoyed that this is such a, like... that it's such a popular topic, because there's other more important things that I think about that are nothing to do with this, that I find way more interesting. And that's the video I've been working on at the moment. Kaya says, real code, are you becoming a real game developer? I guess so, except if you look closely at this code, you'll notice that it's HTML. So no, I'm still not a real programmer. I don't think real programmers would use HTML. I don't know what they would do. They'd probably do something like assembly or whatever, or Holy C or something like that. But no, I'm still not a real coder yet. But I'm trying, I'm trying. I'll show you what this does in a bit, but I want to bring up this video that I hope to release in the next couple days. It's taken a little longer. It was supposed to be a quick one, but this is sort of a condensed version of the thoughts I've been having about all this. It doesn't go into the website stuff we were talking about last stream, but it goes into... it's like a bridge between the topics I see everyone talk about and the stuff I was talking about last stream. And at the moment, it was just an unscripted rant, but it actually kind of ended up being devlog quality. So I've now started... I've got like a voiceover recording and just a few things, and I've gone over the intro to finesse it a bit. And I spent yesterday recording gameplay B-roll to put in the background. Of just the game. And I'm starting to notice that there's this fun game I can play now where, because eventually a video is going to get made on all this footage, but because making a video about that takes so long, And there's other stuff I want to talk about in the meantime. Maybe there can be episodes like this where I talk about what I think about and just show progress on the screen. And you kind of have to guess what I've done without me explaining like all the changes I've made. And maybe that could be a fun thing where it's like, as I do more of these, like the game slightly evolves each video. And then you'll actually get the proper technical breakdown of it every so often. It's just because the amount of work and technicals that go into this is from all the streams I did last month with the level. This is like not the most recent version of it, of course, but it looks more recent than the last video I made. And yeah, most of the people that saw that video haven't been watching the stream, so this will probably still be a delight to them all the same. And yeah, basically, I can basically become my own commentary YouTuber, but with my own gameplay footage now, which is pretty cool. But in this video, it is very much a devlog in the sense that, because one thing I don't like about devlogs is how overly technical they are. And I don't find the technicals all that interesting personally. And this is more talking about this level, the meta level stuff of like, you know, instead of thinking about what game engine you're going to use, what do I think about once you've picked one and start working on something? So I've got a bunch of thoughts I've put in here about that. And it, you know, it's, I don't know if there's like a way I can summarize it. It's sort of like, I guess we'll bring it to the website stuff, because I guess this is where it starts to come in. So here's the code, and it doesn't look that fancy, but I'll show you some of the mock-ups. I evolved the mock-up a bit, because for what the video is about to make sense, I'll show you this, and you might start to catch on to what I'm trying to do here. So here was some other mock-ups I did throughout last week, because what was the I don't know what it looked like when I showed you guys last. It was not as good as this. Well, even this is a draft as well. There's a better one that I'll show you in just a moment, but I just want to get you the one I had from last week, where I left you guys last. Uh-oh, that's the wrong one. Nope. I want the first one. This one. So this is what it was last week. And I remember thinking to myself there was a way to make this better. And I did another mock-up that was differently proportioned, and I was still kind of not 100% on it. I tried having like a header bar and stuff and more room for the text, but I didn't have enough room to put graphics in. And I'm like, gee, dude, I don't know. And then I tried it again. And like I always say, it's the third attempt that's always the good one, right? So this was the third one where I've been a bit different with the styling. And what I'm thinking about, hold on, let me minimize some of these windows. I've got too many windows open. Let me close Premiere. There you guys are. And so I've taken a bit of a different direction with the styling compared to this. I'll do them side by side so that you can see if it's gonna. Please let me do side by side. Come on. There we go. So if you look at like the font choice, the colors, the values, you'll see like a bit of a difference with it's subtle, but it's making this the newer version on the left here was more fun. It's got a bit less texture to it, and I might add a bit more texture later on. But my main thing I was doing while doing this, I wasn't just thinking about the page itself. I was thinking about a lot of other things while I was doing this. Because one thing this is going to help me out with later. So you know how with the level design stuff, I was getting really passionate about the limiting the colors, limiting the way I was building it, and then making decisions in this small canvas, in this set of limits that would give, the environment an identity. And I'm basically applying the same principles to a 2D page. And what I'm also thinking ahead about is things like the UI and menus, because that's another problem I'm going to have to deal with at some point, is that my UI, the in-game UI sucks. It's not well designed. and it's not user-friendly, and it looks like a default Unreal menu. And if you're making a demo, if you want to have a Steam demo, I've noticed that all the ones that suck, you can tell immediately from the default Unreal buttons. And if you don't know what those look like, they basically look like how my menus look right now. But if you search like Unreal for Slate UI or something on Google, you'll see what I mean. Like, no, this isn't quite it. Unreal for game menu or something like that. Like this stuff, right? This is like, when you see a Steam demo that has this, you know that they just didn't care. Like, they put in no effort into the design. It's just some tutorial, and it leaves a bad impression. I know it might seem like an OCD thing, but this is the sort of thing I notice all the time in like every game, and every game that impresses me in its gameplay also impresses me in the small things like this. And this is basically, my menu is slightly, it's still on this level. In-game UI, everything, it's still at this level. And that sucks. It gives it away that, oh, this was made in Unreal. It doesn't make it feel like, it doesn't, it breaks your suspension of disbelief, which is very important. Because if, you know, you can pull them in with cool gameplay, cool graphics and stuff, but if you're going in and the menus look like this, it's like you instantly know that, oh, I'm not playing a video game, I'm playing someone's Unreal project, which is the worst feeling to have. And I don't know, I just notice it. I've played a lot of Steam demos in the last month. I think they just had Next Fest or something. And I played a bunch of them to get an idea on the quality bar that other people set. And so many of them have this junk menu. And I go on to then play the game, and I'm kind of equally underwhelmed. And it's like, just, you know how I say it? It's like in my last big devlog, and it was like, it's the small things, and that you got to wash the bowl. This is the stuff I'm talking about. This is the similar kind of attitude here. This is apathetic, don't give a crap, just do it as fast as possible. And I don't think players deserve that, if you know what I mean. Players deserve better than this. Like, if they're going to pay, especially if it's going to be for like a game that costs $20, you know, the experience you give them is not the, oh, I couldn't be bothered to skin my menu. Here's the, you know, play my game. Like, that's no. This looks nice, though. I don't know. I've just saw this thumbnail. This looks really cool. So that's why that's important to me. I know for whatever reason, a lot of people don't care. Like, you look at Google Images and you look at Steam, and there's abundance of games that just don't care. And I'm guaranteeing you an abundant amount of them are average, and they don't get remembered. And I don't think that's an accident that they all have the same symptoms like this. I don't think that's accidental. So when I'm designing, I know this is for the web page, but this is also helping me solve. I'm thinking ahead of, well, if I was to then implement the same theming in the game's menus, how would I do that, and what would I want to do? So I'm trying to develop, I guess, what you could call like a consistent visual language that will propagate everything so that it all feels consistent, so that you could go on the game's website and you can go in the actual game itself and the theming and aesthetics and the design is consistent. And you aren't for a moment thinking, oh, I'm in a web browser. Oh, I'm in the Unreal 4 runtime editor. Like, no, you want to be in Project Feline. That's what you want to be in. And it comes through in aesthetics like this. So I've tried to kind of... Oh, thanks so much, Luca, for gifting one membership support.
One UI that impressed me was the hashtag Driver Rally 1.
Driver Rally. I've not heard of that. Driver Rally UI. Oh, come on. No images found? Are you serious? Hold on. There we go. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm meant to be looking at here. Like this? Driver Rally U. Is this... Oh, hold on. I'll type Driver Rally game. Maybe it's a... Like this? Oh, hey, Rogue Lobster. Not this one? Okay, well, I don't... Is it called... It's called Driver Rally, right? Driver Rally game. Oh, is this? Oh, I think this is it. I don't know why it's... Okay, here's a... Like, why is it using a hashtag in the title? That's going to get kind of confusing, won't it? Okay. Yeah, it is a bit Persona-esque, isn't it? It's not the exact kind of theming I would use, but it looks well designed, doesn't it? It's subtle, and I like that. That's cool. I'm just looking at the pictures. Because it looks software agnostic. You know, you look at it and you can't tell if... Did they do this in Slate UI or did they do this in Unity Canvas? You can't tell because... Whoever's designed this thing has made all of these choices on purpose. So this font they picked, I can just see it. This font they've picked, the color, the value of how bright it is, the little paint background on the time, and the speedometer, they designed and chose all of that on purpose. They didn't let Unreal Slate pick anything for them or anything like that. That's really neat. It's kind of very minimal as well, but in a good way. Because there's a lot of UIs I see that are minimal, but are just lazy. But this is like intentionally minimal, and it's using... I like the color. I like that shade of reddish pink, the black and the white outline. I don't know. It feels premium. And I think that's important. A UI in a premium game should feel premium, and it's pretty good. This is a cool aesthetic. Thanks for that fine recommendation once again, Luca. Bayonetta is Baroque and high class. DMC is urban with Gothic vibes, but with the direction I want to take. I may go for stylized realism with the art style and aesthetic. Interesting. I haven't played any of those, but I've heard of DMC. I've heard of Bayonetta. Stylized realism, on the topic of that, you'll find this website pretty neat. And some of you might know the website I'm going to type in already. So I had this, just on that topic, I had this other thought on realism in graphics. So in that last, to bring it back to the last video I made again, I remember making some point about how high fidelity graphics isn't the be all end all of everything, right? And I've given that more thought, and it's like, if we go to this website again, this dude has like it's called like a next-gen, I think it was next-gen texturing or something like that, and he has a bunch of guides on making these like realistic assets that kind of look similar to the Resident Evil style. And it occurred to me, something about realism, that there was a point at which, there was a better article he had. It was like with hair. He had a guide with how to texture hair. There was this one on ears, which is cool, but he had one on like texturing hair that I'm trying to... Yeah, it was like this, right? So I actually would really like to see a game that uses stylized realism. And this is sort of what comes to my mind when I think stylized realism. And it has that kind of Resident Evil 4 style... where it's like, at the time, it was the closest to realism, but because it was still made under the right equilibrium of limitations, the actual reason it was appealing is because it was still an art style. But because it was the closest thing to realistic that was in the market at the time, I think people thought that the pursuit of realism was the ultimate goal. But what they don't realize is, this is not realism. It looked like realism in 2004, but this is actually an art style of its own. And what I think is really neat is that specific period of like the mid-2000s birthed its own art style based on the polygonal and texture limitations of 3D, that when you look at it now... Because now it doesn't look realistic anymore, but it's aged really well still. And it's like, well, how? And it's like, well, it's aged well because of its own identity and its own style. And that's why Resident Evil 4 still looks good and all this other stuff. Is because now it doesn't look good because it's cutting edge and realistic, but it looks good because it's stylized. And I just think that's really cool. And if I wasn't working on an anime game, I would want to do something like this someday, where it's not the realism from 2015 or 2021, but it's like realism from 2005, which, I don't know, to me this looks more beautiful than any game I've seen in the last 10 years. And I don't know, it's just something I've noticed, and it made me think that, I don't know, maybe because it was like kind of close to realism, it like tricked everyone into this big psyop of, we gotta make it as realistic as possible. And it's like, well, actually, the reason this looks good is not because it's realistic. It's because it's under the right limits. It's using limited colors still. It's still well directed. And I think that was easy to do at this point in time, because everything was lower fidelity. You had less choices. The textures were lower res. You had less room to make mistakes. You had bigger guardrails to keep you on the road where you could only make right choices. And I think the equilibrium in the last 10 years has completely gone out of whack. And that's why a lot of games are aging terribly and looking awful now. I'd have to imagine that's got something to do with it. So I don't know. You let me know what you think of that if you are wanting to do realism style. But I would dare you to try and do this, because nowadays, this is probably a lot easier to achieve now than it was in 2012 when this video was made. And all the resources for it exist already. Like, you don't have to wait for someone tomorrow to upload the top 5 tips on making 2000s models. It's all here already. So this would actually not be too difficult of an undertaking. I mean, of course it'll be hard to do, but it's like, it would be the right challenge, I think. And I don't know, like it's the same with that kind of Final Fantasy art style, where it's sort of like, it's got that realistic shading, but the anime proportions. I think that has like the same kind of look to it, which I always thought was pretty cool, pretty awesome. But yeah, that's just some shower thoughts on that. Lamia says, this is why I'm choosing stylized realism, best of both worlds. Yes, I want the character designs to be larger than life too. Well, hey man, I'd say go for it. It sounds great. I would check it out if it was like that. And the cool thing about that is that you don't have to download Unreal 5 to do it. You can use some old tool and it'll run amazing, and it'll be awesome. And like when I say it'll be easy, I think what I mean is it'll be easier to do than trying to do what everyone's trying to do right now, where it's like, I'm going to model this 20 million thing in ZBrush, and then I'm going to just import it straight into Unreal with Nanite, and you know, and no consequences will ensue. Like, that's the kind of hell that everyone else wants to be in right now, which I don't understand. I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but if you choose the stylized realism, you will never have to learn all of this stuff I see everyone trying to push, where you have to learn sculpting and all this junk. Like, you won't need to learn that. You just have to, you'll be able to do it quite simply, and still have it look pretty good. And I don't know, I just, because I never realized why I liked that style, and I didn't realize it was a style until like this week. And it's like, you know, that's a cool style actually. But on the back on the topic of visual theming and the website design. So this is sort of what I've got, and I've tried to do it under the same limits, limited palettes, using lab color space, same stuff as I did with the actual environment. So I'm doing it under the same rules, and I'm using grids as well. So if I think last week I accidentally used the grid right without realizing, but I've since found more cool resources on designing web pages the right way, or so to speak. And if I go to my grids and guides, and if we go to pixels, and if I change this to, I think it's 60 pixels with 4 or 2 subdivisions, I think. And if I turn that on, you'll, maybe that's the wrong amount of it might have been 80, not 60. 80, let's try that. That's better. And then 4, or no, this wasn't right either. There was a different, because these settings reset every time for some reason when I open Photoshop. Or it might have been, it might have been this. This might have been what I used. Yeah, so I was thinking more, and I was looking at my older design from last week here, and I was thinking there's just something off about the proportions or something. I couldn't put my finger on it. My eyes, the way where my eye was going, I didn't like. And I found this really cool resource on how commercial styled websites used to be designed from 15 years ago. And I learned a whole lot of interesting things, and it's really cool. And I want to show you some of that. So I think this thing I found, it's called the 960 grid system. And this is actually based on that. Remember, hold on. I'll get it out again. I'm going to scare you Zoomers once again. So this book I keep bringing up, which you should definitely buy and read or find a PDF on it somewhere. All of you have to read this. It's so good. So, but what I've learned is that web designers actually read this book as well and developed their own rules for styling websites, which is what this page is. And the actual, there's like a video series on this where he actually mentions like Swiss designers from the 70s came up with these ideas and we're going to put them in websites. And this is what this thing is. So I guess I kind of shortcutted through this directly just by reading more. And I already kind of knew what they were talking about. So, and they have a bunch of examples here of old, not personal sites, but commercial sites. And there's a reason why I'm looking at commercial sites, but we'll get into that in a bit. But they have all these examples and they show how they're using grid denominations in the design. And what's interesting is they were designed specifically to look good at 1024 by 768, which was the most common resolution at the time. So that was the standard 4:3, the Dell computer monitor resolution at work. Is whatever computer you have at work, that's like those old Dell monitors, you've probably seen them. That's the 1024 by 768 or whatever it is. That's what these websites were designed for. And one thing I really like about that is that it was designed for something specifically. Whereas a lot of websites now aren't designed for that. They're just kind of like, oh, we're designed to be laid out on whatever you want. And it's like, no, I want it to be designed for this specific canvas size. I don't want it to be a variable thing that changes like the wind, that has no rules to it, that has no rhyme or reason. And it's like, oh, we're just going to dynamically... And it's like, no, because when you do that and when everything's too changeable, you lose intentionality like this. And it's all these same principles I learned in Gabby's model, in the level design stuff I've been doing, and now here as well, where it seems like a lot of the things I fall in love with, whether it's media, whether it's websites, whether it's games, a thing they all have in common is that they all have a strong intention behind them. And you can do that if you're using Unreal 4 or Unreal 5 or whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is the intent. And I'm starting to see the same things in these old websites, which is really cool. Now, the thing is about this, because these are all really cool. And I went on there was this other website I found of like the golden age of web design. This stuff I've been thinking about for a while. So this wasn't all from this week. I've been over the last like maybe year or so, I've just been passively looking at this stuff. And I found this page, right? And you notice how everything used to be so beautiful. And this is not... I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, well, you were just nostalgic. This is just nostalgia. Shut up. It's not nostalgia. And I know it's not nostalgia. Because when you start learning about design, actual design, when you start actually researching and studying it, and actually learning what's going on, you realize that it's not just nostalgia, and it's not just a big accident that everyone feels like everything 15 years ago was better. That's not nostalgia. You know how I know that as well? It's because there's probably some of you here in chat that were born after most of these websites were taken off. There was probably a lot of you in here that were born in like, from 2006 to 2010 that missed out on all of this. And even you can recognize that there is some high quality craftsmanship here that you weren't alive to experience. And I know this because I wasn't alive to experience a lot of the golden age here. And it's like, well, can you be nostalgic over something that you never experienced? Well, maybe you can. Or maybe it's not nostalgia at all. Maybe it's something else. And I don't know, looking at all these, at the enthusiasm with which these sites were designed, the bold colors, the glorious materials, the theming, the design. Because as I've been trying to do this myself, I don't think most people realize how hard it is to design a good web... Like, to design some of this stuff, man, like this GameSpot page, this looks so cool, right? And this is actually really difficult to design. Like, you have to really know in your head what you want. And if you've ever tried making something, that's like the first obstacle is, I don't know what I want. How do I know what the right thing is? How do I know what I want? And I didn't see this one before. Look how beautiful this is. Look at the craftsmanship. Look at it. And the thing that is important to me, and I think this is what people younger than me are probably noticing about these, because you guys might not see the grid systems and the limited color. You might not see that consciously, but you notice how you feel emotions looking at these pages? Like, I don't feel anything looking at YouTube or all of this other Twitter.com. I feel nothing looking at do they have like modern websites? Is there any modern websites here on this web design? Probably not, because most modern websites aren't worthy to be in a museum anyway. But you look at like, modern web design. You look at all this junk, and it's just, I feel nothing. I feel no emotion. I feel no connection to the page. I feel like I want to click away from here as fast as possible, right? There's no emotional resonance. And why does this matter? You might be listening to me ramble and yap about this, and you go, oh, right, it's just a website, who cares? And this matters a great deal, because you'll notice every artist or designer right now, the big boogeyman is the rise of AI. Everyone is crying and trembling and terrified of AI is going to replace us all. It's over. My line is ended. They're doing the Denethor from Lord of the Rings over, like, they see AI at the gate. You guys have seen Lord of the Rings. You know the scene where the city's getting invaded, the orcs are all there. Imagine that's AI, and instead of like fighting it, they're all being like Denethor, and they're just sitting in their castle eating grapes. My line is ended. My art's over. And I think that attitude sucks, personally, because when you understand what's actually going on with these things, you will not be threatened by AI at all, because no AI could accomplish this. And I know that because an AI's attitude is that of an amateur. And when you look at anything an AI makes, you look at the AI art out there, how they get 5 or 6 fingers on a hand or all this junk, like, you can tell immediately, right? And I don't know if any of you have asked yourself that question on why it is you can tell AI art immediately just from a glance. That's because it isn't noticing these rules that are making these look good, because it isn't thinking. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's just copying. And if you're just copying, you're not playing this game, okay? And this is just, there are a lot of other books as well on this, but what this book to me is a symbol of, it's a symbol of the game of designing something cool, which an AI is not going to, it can't do it, because it's just a model. It's just copying input-output data, and that's all it's doing. What this is doing, though, is teaching you how to make decisions, and an AI is incapable of that, and that's why I don't think it'll ever take off. I think it's just going to be this fad that will vanish after a while, because it's just anything I've seen made by it is mediocre. And after a while, people are going to get sick of it. I'm already sick of it. And in the next 10 years, everyone else is going to be sick of it. But if you look at stuff like this, all of these were designed 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And you notice how it still looks good. And do you ever ask yourself why? Why is it that this site from 2003 still looks good? Because you know how that's kind of the exception now, where everything that is made now ends up looking junk in a matter of like 2 weeks or 2 years. Like after a year, it's like, oh wow, this aged horribly. This looks dated as hell. But you notice how this still looks good? That's what I'm talking. Like, an AI can't do this, because it isn't really that. It isn't about the flavor. Because I know that you might look at a thing like this and you see the flavor, you see the visual flavor, you see like the gradients and all that stuff, and an AI will be able to copy all that and whatever. But what they aren't copying is how the invisible choice, the invisible war, if you will, that someone did to decide, well, we're going to have the buttons in this bottom corner, and we're going to have this up here, and we're going to, because the actual human that designed this has a theory of mind where it knows what kind of emotional impact it can leave on you and on us. And that's why this lasts this long. This is why this still looks cool. It's because whoever designed this thing has theory of mind. That's basically it. They can look at it and go, oh, this feels cool to me because I have feelings and I don't just have an algorithm. And if it feels like this, I know I can invoke these feelings in other people. And that's a whole other game that exists way beyond the styling, way beyond the surface. And that's why all of this matters to me a lot, because that's how you win, I think, against the current problem. You know, I think everyone sort of sees that as the big problem in arts right now, right? It's the rise of AI and making people redundant. But I think if you're that worried that that's going to happen, I think you're kind of missing the point of art in general, right? Like when I look at the stuff that, like this book, it's cool. It's got a bunch of cool technical know-how in it. But do you know why I actually love this book? It's got nothing to do with the rules that it describes. It's the mind of the author that wrote the rules. And what amazes me about it, what gets me in awe, is the way that Joseph Brockman thinks. Not the actual things he came up with, although those are helpful and cool, but what makes this still in print since the 70s is the human intention, or something along... I don't know if that's the right wording, but that's the closest I can think to word it out loud. And you have a kind of connection. You know how in Avatar they have the scene where he's in the Avatar state and he sees back to all his previous generations? That's what I feel like reading this stuff. That's what I feel when I look at these old things. And that's what I want people to feel when they interact with anything that I make, whether that's this webpage I'm doing, whether it's the game itself, whether it's the videos, whether it's anything. That's the stuff that I want to have in there because I think that matters a lot. And that's what makes it valuable in the long term. And that's something that AI will never be able to accomplish because it's not in the tree of life, if you will. You know, I don't know if that's I haven't watched Avatar in a while, but they have that whole thing of the tree of life and the avatar. They get passed down from generations, and there's like a continuum. All this AI slop is not in a continuum, but human-made things designed by humans exist in a cultural continuum like that. And anyway, I know that's a big esoteric ramble. I'm sorry if that didn't make any sense, but that's what I think about most of the time. That's not what I'm not thinking about whether is Unreal 4 or 5 the best engine. No, this is what I'm thinking about. This is why, for me, this stage is important, doing some kind of not soulless website. Because then it bleeds more into this other areas of things. So with this page... so this is the mock-up. We'll get off the conversation a bit and I'll show you some stuff in action. So I'm not a great coder yet at this whole thing. Actually, no, there's something first I got to go through. I do have a very bad demo of the site right now, but before I show you that, I'm going to get into this other thing. So... Or maybe I'll read chat first. I'll see if I'm going too off the rails here. I don't know. Does any of that track? Does any of that make sense to you guys? Do I sound? I'm starting to worry if I'm sounding more and more schizophrenic each stream. But what do you guys got to say? What does chat have to say about this? Dan Sammy says, that's not HTML. Real programmers make GTA 5 and x86 assembly. Okay, look, man, you are correct. And that's look, I don't call myself a programmer for that reason. Unless I'm doing it in x86 assembly, then no, I don't think I'll ever be a real coder. Hungry Duckling says, I get exactly what you mean. Thank you. That's reassuring. Simply Green says, your talk about trims was useful. Well, thank you. I don't know if I'd call it a talk. Would you call it a talk? That's cool, I guess. See, because I'm not an academic, so I don't think I'm qualified to give talks on anything, but thank you. Because even the trims, it's part of this continuum. It's part of the same thing. Like, the reason I even got onto trims at all is because of people that thought this way. Sorry, I keep thinking my camera's over there for some reason. But the kind of person that thinks like this... Because the fact that this was published in the 70s and that we're still... and people still buy it, that's not an accident. That's not, oh, he got lucky. No, it's not that. It's because the ideas are timeless ideas. This is timeless wisdom. It's in the tree of life continuum. And this has to be passed down to the next generation. And that's When I bought this, that's what he was doing. Because whoever wrote this probably had that exact thing in his mind. When he was writing all these rules, he wasn't writing it to sell an online course like what everyone's doing now. That didn't exist in the 80s. This guy wrote this book so that he could live in a world where everything was well designed. And I don't know, it's a very different attitude that I see in the world a lot now, where no one seems to care about the emotional impression you get from something. Because it looks technical and it's all grids and typography, but you know that this guy cared so much about it, right? He cared so much about the way it looks, the experience of the reader. And that's like a human thing. There is no other species or computer algorithm that does that. That's a thing that will always be unique to humans. The consideration of the reader or the audience or the observer or whoever, what have you. And you can't really do that well unless you yourself are an observer or a reader. Like, this guy came up with these rules because he probably noticed all this in typography and went, well, as a reader, I think this sucks. Someone needs to make rules. And he did it. And an AI can't do that because it's not really observing. It's not really taking in what it's doing, is it? Sorry, I keep going off topic. Comex says, even if so, I kind of blame the games for not doing a better job guiding me towards how to use the moves better. Killing the player if they don't do it right is not a bad way to guide. This is like game design. Are you guys talking about game? You're talking about Bayonetta? Yeah, look, I haven't played DMC or Bayonetta. I know that they can be hard games. Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. Mongo says, so does the Tree of Life relate to... I don't know what that word is. To the Akasic record? I don't know. I don't know what that means. That's the best word for it. I'm trying to think of a better way to word it. Because I think in the end of that series, they have this thing where the Tree of Life is sick or something, and it's like draining the life force from the... I don't know, it was a while since I watched it, but I remember something about that in the show, and the Avatar has to save the world, and he does so by like restoring the Tree of Life or something. I can't remember. But I remember the scene, and it's this huge tree, and it's like it has an effect on everything. Because I'm trying to remember. It's been a few years. I just remember the shot they had of the tree, and they have the roots going through the ground, and it's like revealed that everything that grows is part of this one tree or something. And that sounds like, oh, well, that's from a fictional TV show. That's not real. And it's like, shut up. That is whoever came up with that idea is not. That is a real idea. Yes, it's in a fictional show, but it's that is not. It means something. It isn't just an accident. They didn't just pick out, oh, what if we had this big tree in the show for no reason? That'd be so cool. Like, no, that's how Redditors write stories. That's not what these guys did. That's mythology. And there's a reason. I gotta rewatch that show, man. Lamia says, I want to make combos in my game feel in line with fighting games. Do you actually need to perform multiple inputs akin to Street Fighter and Tekken on top of swapping between the weapons? Cool. I don't know much about your game, so I don't know how... I don't play a lot of fighters. But yeah, I guess try it. I don't know. Just go do it. I don't know what to say. Do it mindfully, though, I guess is sort of what I'm trying to communicate in a sense. Warthog says, I started making a NeoCities website a few months back, so I love seeing you go down the same rabbit hole, and I love what you're doing with the website. Thank you. Well, it's kind of interesting in and of itself, isn't it? Because I thought I was just crazy, but I've noticed that a lot of people are doing that as well. And it's like, that is not an accident. Like, because I remember seeing this page, I found out about this maybe a year ago, and you notice something interesting about when you look at the homepage for these, you notice how a lot of these have a lot of attention. And now, this is where I gotta put on the brakes for a minute. When you look at these numbers, here's something else that's really annoyed me about modern internet, is that numbers have completely depreciated in value. And I know this because I I get numbers. I have an analytics dashboard, and I have numbers that tell me stuff, and I don't feel anything when I look at them. But this is where I got to put on the brakes and say that if this is the only thing you're looking at, you're kind of taking this with the wrong attitude completely. What this means, it doesn't mean, oh, well, this has 4 million views. I better do that and get my million views. No, that's not what the point of this is. What this communicates to me instead, because the views here are way more valuable than a YouTube view. Because someone that is looking at these is they're not watching YouTube on autoplay on their second monitor. These are views of active people that care, not passive consumers. And that is a completely different relationship to the content. So 130,000 visits here, I feel, is way more valuable than the 400,000 views I got on that last video I did. Because most of those people will never see me again. Most of those people don't care about the context in which those ideas exist. And I've just noticed that a lot of the YouTube and everything is become also just these designs are so cool, man. I haven't checked this front page in a long time, but a lot of these are so amazing. But the what I'm trying to say is that the reward for engaging with someone here is deeper, if that makes sense. It's more special than someone watching a video on YouTube because I don't know, man. It's just something about the culture and the detached. I don't know. YouTube users. I feel this as well as a YouTube user. It feels like as a user, it is a lot more depersonal and detached, and the axiom that YouTube is moving around now used to be the users themselves. Like I remember early YouTube the axiom of early YouTube was like Shane Dawson, Ray William Johnson, Ryan Higa, Smosh, and you kind of went on YouTube for them or people like them or whoever it is that you watched. But there is no there is no Smosh anymore. And I know that Smosh still exist, but they aren't Smosh. You know what I mean? Like, Smosh then is not Smosh that now. What that means is completely different. And that's what I grew up on. And that's kind of, when I started my YouTube channel, that's kind of what I was hoping to have. Not to be, the top YouTuber like those guys, but to have the kind of connection you had with them, right? And that's another thing as well of why would this matter to a game developer, you might wonder. Because I was trying to explain last week that the online presence and video game developers are intertwined now as well. But why this, I think there's a better reason. I've found a better reason why this matters as well, is because there are a lot of, if you look at the big scary boogeyman AI, Steam is going to get flooded with a lot of AI games now. It's probably happened already. And everywhere is going to be oversaturated by this stuff. I see it on Instagram. I see it everywhere. Everything's just flooded with popcorn. And it's happening already. I can see this exodus happening. Like, what this tells me, this homepage, this tells me that it's happening. These are the early adopters. And in the next 10 years, I think everyone is going to start feeling over it with YouTube and everything. It will happen. I just know it somehow. I can't explain how I know it, but I just know it. Because I'm getting sick of it, of just as a user, I feel so detached from everything. Everything doesn't feel as valuable. And I want to treat it like I treated early YouTube, but the actual site itself doesn't do that. There's no sub box anymore. The homepage, what is there is different. And subscribing to people is like not the point anymore, which used to be the point. That used to be the gold, the equivalent of gold currency used to be the subscriber, but that's not true anymore. But this universe, what's going on here is like the closest thing I can see to the return to what it was like. And why does that matter to game developers? Why should game developers be thinking about that at all? Well, because the kind of connection you build with someone through a site like this is not something AI can accomplish. An AI can make top 5 game dev tips, an AI can make a Tall Man Run, or whatever crap game they have on YouTube homepage now. You've seen those, right? I have plugins that block all of those things. But if you go on YouTube Raw without plugins, you will see these Flash games. And they are the most soulless junk things I've ever seen. And I'm like, nobody in 20 years is going to be playing Tall Man Run. No one is ever going to remember that. And it's like, the attitude of making stuff for the YouTube homepage, I hate. I don't agree. I don't like it. So to my main point here, it's like Steam is going to get filled with that. TikTok is getting filled with that. And it was already happening before AI, when everyone just started making stuff and not thinking about craftsmanship. That was already happening. And those people are the ones who are panicked. It's the people that have no regard for craftsmanship that could be replaced by AI easily. I think those are the people that are the most alarmed by this whole thing. Because they can't compete, because they have the same attitude where it's like, I need to pump out stuff as quick as possible. And, anyone that has that attitude is going to get demolished because AI will do it better. So what's the alternative? Well, you just have to care a lot. I think that's the only alternative. You just have to go super deep and care so much about it that you can't be mistaken for apathy at all. And a way you do that is the presence you have. And that's where things like websites and this whole universe of thing ties into that somehow. I don't quite know the right wording to explain it concisely yet. But you notice how even the homepage, when you look at this set of tags, you notice how just even the NeoCities page feels human? Like, is that just me that feels that? You notice how this feels human? That is... And this is not something that you can generate. It's not something... This is not a feeling you achieve by mass-producing junk. This is a completely different universe of craft. And that's the best... I don't know how to wrap that up in a cool phrase or something. But maybe you see what I'm talking... I don't know. Maybe I don't have to explain it. But it's... You feel something. I think that's... Maybe I can't explain it, but you do feel it. When you look at these sites, you feel an emotional reaction to these. But when you look at Instagram Reels, when you look at... What's Steam? Store.steam powered. Let's look. Like even this. This looks fake. I don't know what this is. This looks uncanny. And I remember I was trying to find this a few streams ago, and it wouldn't load the page, but maybe it will now. This is popular stuff. See, you won't notice this on popular stuff, because this stuff is usually well made, the popular stuff. But what I want is the unpopular... Yeah, what's unpopular right now that no one's buying? This is what I'm talking about. Like... Now, it's hard to say because, like, I'm just looking at this for the first time. This is not a value judgment necessarily. It's more a cautionary tale I'm trying to pass on to you guys. But you look at some of these, like, I don't know, man. Like, you know how some of it just looks... Maybe this looks like it was made by a person, but it's just someone that isn't thinking about color and font width and things like that. So I'm not gonna... That's not a good example, but you've seen these ones. I don't know if it's gonna even show them, because some of these aren't too terrible, but it's the ones that have this kind of, like, AI look to them. And, like, what's this? Like this, I can see it here. This was not made by a person. I just can tell. And this is... Because I don't know what it is, but everyone seems so obsessed with like analytics and stuff with all this. But what the analytics aren't showing you is the emotional attachment that your player will have to the product. And that is not something that Chris Husowski can teach you. That is not something you will learn on how to market a game.com. That is not something you will look at looking at the wish list dashboard. This is an intangible thing that used to just be a given. before things became so easy. It used to be a given because making something emotionally resonating was the barrier of entry. But because everything's so easy now, you can make something that gets these numbers without putting in the right cost of entry. But the result you get is a cheapened one. Something, I don't know. Like, I just know somehow, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like some of those games that you see might have 1 million downloads, but it's a lower quality download. It's like the difference between a console and a mobile game. The mobile game, like I remember 10 years ago, everyone got so obsessed with the mobile scene. Everyone I knew started making mobile games because, oh, there's so many users on mobile. It's so many, I could get 1 million downloads. But it's like, it's 1 million downloads from people that don't care. They're people that are just bored on the bus and they don't care about you. And they get what they deserve because what's on the mobile store right now? Games that are equally apathetic that no one cares about. And there is a relationship between those two things. And I don't know how to explain it beyond that, but it's not, this is the complete opposite of that. This is what I think I want to be a part of. And this is the complete 180 opposite of instead of the nothing matters attitude, this is the everything matters attitude. Also, this is sick that they've got this Wii-themed website. I'm going to bookmark this. This looks awesome. But anyway, I've rambled long enough about what I'm trying to say. So insofar as what I'm doing about it, so here's where it gets a bit deeper. So the actual concept for this site, I'll read your chat first before this is going to be a bit of a deeper one, but I'll read what you guys say first before I get into the next thing. You should use PSN instead of Steam since it removes. Oh, is that right? Interesting. I haven't checked. Well, actually, isn't that something? I haven't checked the PlayStation Store in ages. Maybe there's a reason for that. Thanks, Luca, for the 5.
Steam removes a lot of those games you're talking. If you want to find examples like that,
yeah.
PSN Store got you covered.
Well, all right, well, let's have a look then, shall we? PSN Store. Isn't it interesting? Actually, that's interesting, because I haven't looked at the PSN Store in years. Just think about that for a second. Maybe there's a reason, because I didn't even think about it. I haven't thought about the PlayStation Store in years. And it's not because I decided to stop caring. It's not because one day I got up and said, this will be the last time I look at the PlayStation Store, and I will not look at it again for 5 years. It's not because I made a conscious choice like that. It's because of something else. So this is latest, but all of this just looks like Sony games. Like this is not the tier of stuff I'm talking about. This is the stuff that's always selling all the time. Is there a way to just see the most recent? I have stopped for a few months, but even so, oh boy, it's bad. Indies who release on console have much lower competition than on Steam. Interesting. Someone help me here. Where do I find... Oh, view all new games. All right, well, let's have a look. Okay, we're doing our market research. See, this is sorting it. This is already culling stuff because I recognize these games. So this is already sorting it by popularity somehow. Yeah, best selling. So this is all going to be stuff that is actually decent. Let's go release date, new to old. Oh no. Oh, dude, you were right on the money. Let's have a look. I can tell this one immediately. This looks like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Oh. It really did get bad. Oh my goodness. Where's the screenshots? Aren't you supposed to upload screenshots? I haven't read the docs in a while, because I have looked at the PlayStation guidelines for curiosity. I can't say I'll end up, I'm not promising I'll release on console, because I know it's a lot harder than it looks, but is this seriously the best they have? Really? They did. I am certain I read somewhere that when you upload a submission to PlayStation, you have to include screenshots and a trailer. I was certain that was a thing, but I don't know. Maybe the website doesn't show it. But this just looks like... I mean, can you guys see what I'm talking about here? What do you feel looking at this? Who the hell is ASI Games? Do you guys care who ASI Games is? I don't. I am not at all curious about ASI Games. I'm not at all curious about this red-eyed freak in my PlayStation store with the most uninspired art style. Like, I don't feel anything looking at this but rage. And, you know, because I know that, here's the thing, because I've met people that think this is impressive, right? You know what they're thinking about is, oh, I'll be able to make more stuff more quickly. I'll only need to spend 6 months on a game instead of 5 years. And it's like, you're missing out on the point of the whole thing, I feel like. If you're just trying to rush to the end as fast as possible, you're completely missing the point. And, what it is, I'm trying to think of what that really means, because I know that doesn't sound specific enough. But it's like, if your entire world is surrounded by this energy of apathy, that affects you. And I know this sounds crazy and schizo, okay, but this is true. This is real. If your entire world, imagine you wake up every day, you're on the bus, whatever you are, you're at the bus stop, you're at the train station, you're at work or whatever, you're on YouTube, and the only ads you see for anything, the ads on the bus, the ads on YouTube, the only ads you see of every, imagine if they're all, like, this is the best quality you see ever. Imagine you go on imagine you even try to escape this and go to a used DVD store, but all the used DVDs are this. Can you imagine how much you would hate life if that's what was... Like, this is becoming a thing, but imagine in 10 years. Imagine how much... Like, because you look at this and... It's not that it does something, it's that it doesn't do something. It has an absence of something. Because when you see something beautiful, well-crafted, like when I read this book, when I look at this cover, when I read its contents and internalize it, it makes me appreciate life. It makes me realize how beautiful the world is. And this doesn't. And that's why this is not the future. Because everyone is going to be... This is mental poison. This is like the equivalent of... This is the equivalent of being on, like, constant... I don't know. What drug do people take now that messes with their head? Like Lexapro or something. Like, this is the mental equivalent of being constantly dosed up. Is being exposed to this. And I know this sounds crazy, but this... Whether you're even looking at it or not, like, this leaves an impact on you. Even if you have seen it in your periphery, it leaves an impact on you. And I don't know how to explain it beyond that, but I know that it matters because I know that it bothers me, and I know that I'm probably more sensitive to this than most people. But I know that people, even who aren't sensitive, they know people who are sensitive that will notice, and those sensitive people are going to be pretty upset. They are going to... why do you think everyone's on antidepressants now? You think that's an accident? I don't know, man. Maybe that's part of it. I'm no psychologist, but maybe that's got something to do with it. And I don't know, man. You notice how, like, 50 years ago when things were amazing, people were less ill? You notice that? I don't know. This is probably too deep. I don't need to go this deep into it, but it's like, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, if everything in your world is apathetic, it makes you apathetic. And it's like, is that the kind of legacy you want to leave behind on the world? Now, for a lot of people I know, they don't care. They aren't thinking about the lasting impact of what they do, because I can make Minecraft in one day instead of 2 months. Oh, amazing. And then the game flops and they go, why did that flop? I did everything right. And it's like, no, you didn't. That's what that ends up. And I've seen that happen. So... yeah. Even looking at this, I'm getting mentally damaged looking at this. I don't even want to go to page 11. I don't want to see what's on page 11. This is enough. I can't look at this. I can't look at this anymore. I got to go back to this. Oh, my goodness. But you see what I'm talking about? You see, like, I know this might sound kind of like I'm reading too much into it, but I know there's something there. I know that this matters, and you can't convince me that this doesn't matter. some guy says something about the constant march towards human obsolescence. And it's like, yeah, man. And it just annoys me so much that everyone I talk to that's in the industry, they are just obsessed with this, like, it's a product or whatever, like this attitude of it's a product. And now I'm not saying that this is some anti-capitalist, like whatever. I don't hate capitalism or whatever, but this whole thing of like, there's meant to be a pairing of there's a commercial thing going on and a spiritual cultural thing at the same time. But those have been so divorced from each other now, and it bothers me so much because I want it. The vision I have for the future is a world where it's like games that are made with soul are commercially incentivized, because that's kind of how it used to be for a while. And it's like, that's kind of, I don't know. When I'm doing stuff like this, even if it seems like a massive side quest or something, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what is going through my head, so that when my thing is finished, when Project Feline is done, the release of it will feel like something. It'll actually be kind of exciting and not just, oh, this happened on the internet this week, who cares? You know, it'll feel like you were part of something, and it'll feel... It's the feeling. And that's the word I'm looking for. This whole PlayStation Store, it's the absence of feeling. That's what I'm noticing, the absence of emotion. And I like to think I'm a pretty unemotional guy, typically. I don't... That's why I like game development, because you just have to look at code and it's very unemotional. But I do think it does matter a lot. So with that in mind, I'll just read what you guys say here. I didn't realize... Thanks for suggesting the Sony store, Luca. I didn't realize it had gotten that bad. And you know what? Because I went to a store, an actual store, last week, because I had to film some footage for Gabby's model devlog, because I have a thing about this where I show some box art of games, because I started noticing this in real life, not just on the Sony store. But even the games I'm seeing stocked in actual stores now just look mid, you know? Maybe, I don't know if you guys notice this, but like when you get a chance next, go to GameStop or whatever thing you have in your country. And if you're my age, you'll remember the kind of games you used to see at GameStop. You used to see stuff like, you know, Ratchet & Clank Crack in Time, or Resistance 3, or Halo 3, or Prince of Persia, or Assassin's Creed 2, back when the games were good. Like, you used to see really cool stuff, like, all the time. But you know what I see now? Freaking, like, Squirrel with a gun or something. And I just don't... I feel nothing. And it's like, I remember... Because that used to be a habit of mine. When I was a kid, I used to make it a habit to get out of the house and go to the store every couple weeks. And it wasn't even about buying the game. It was about looking at all the amazing art on the covers of these things. Like, I would just go and browse the cover art and just, you know, if it was that cool, I would buy it. But a lot of the time, I just enjoy the experience of being surrounded by awesome cover art and art. It's like an art gallery. That's how I treated it. And it was a cool experience to go outside to the mall, to be around humans, not for too long, but to, you know, be there and just browse and to admire the craftsmanship that you could see just from the cover. And I go now, and that's not happening. That's not a thing anymore. All the box art is mediocre. It's all average. There's nothing exciting. And I'm looking at it, and I've met people that like will work on some of these, and I think there's a connection here where it's like it's because the people doing it don't care. I have to think that's got something to do with it. And it's pretty terrifying. Holdsworth then says, going out of the house? What? I know, man, it's crazy. And it's depressing, because I don't even want to go out of the house anymore to look at it, because it's just, it's unremarkable. And I'm looking at the actual covers. I'm looking at the prices, because they're more expensive now than they were back then. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just thinking, like, who's buying this? And that's the question I've been asking myself for the last month. Because I don't know if I'll do a physical release or not, but I'm looking at the stuff that's actually there. And I just can't imagine someone buying it. Like, I can't imagine it. I'm looking at, I don't even know if, like, I don't know what to type in on Google to get me the image. I would need to take you guys to the store and show you, but I can't do that because my webcam is attached here. But I'd have to do it and show you guys one day, and you'll see it. It's just, it doesn't make me want to go to the store. And when you don't want to go to the store, that's one less habit in your life that has an effect too, doesn't it? Because that's part of your life that isn't there anymore. You know how people were really upset about Blockbuster closing? That's the same thing. This whole thing I've just been ranting about, it's the same thing. There's a reason why people liked Blockbuster, and it didn't really have much to do with the movies. But also, it just so happened that the movies they had were really good. But there was more to it. It was, you felt something going into Blockbuster. But the Sony PlayStation Store we just looked at, man, that's not Blockbuster. That is something perverse. Hey, Charles Dev. How am I? I'm pretty chuffed, I guess. Or no, that's not the right word. I'm just going on a rant about how bad media's gotten and how much it annoys me. So I'm pretty angry, but it's temporary though. I'll be happy in 10 minutes from now. Cosmic says, I know this trend and I hate it. Yeah. Cosmic also says there's an ongoing culture war in the balance between the interests of big players and the humanity of the little guy, wanting to see more color in the world. And a lot of this is worth thinking about. Thanks, Cosmic. Well, interesting. See, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to talk about this on stream or not, but I don't, like, it's, I know that I'm not the only one, right? Like, that's good to know, because I don't know, I don't know a lot of people that also look at it this way. Most of the people I know that I met, like, trying to learn game development in these courses are not thinking about this, and it upsets me. You sound like a nostalgic boomer? Well, I guess so, man. I guess I am a nostalgic boomer, and I'm proud. I'm a proud, strongly opinionated, nostalgic boomer. And it really was better in my day, god damn it. I'm proud of that. Cybershell says, you want to capture nostalgia in a bottle, but the question of what causes it plagues your mind. Well, no. Because what I'm talking about isn't nostalgia at all. I don't think it's nostalgia at all. It's... I think people use that as like a like a backhanded way to dismiss it, where it's like... there is a phenomenon where old people think it was better back in the day because that's what they grew up with. And that's a thing, but I think what I'm describing here isn't that. Because even young people that didn't experience this feel what I'm talking about. And it's like, if a 14-year-old today can relate to this, that never grew up around this, then that can't be nostalgia. There's something else. And what I think it is there's this such immense well of value in these experiences of going to the store, of browsing these specific games made with this specific attitude, made by these specific craftsmen. There was something about the harmony of all of those circumstances combined to create a period that a lot of us feel nostalgic for. But I think beyond the nostalgia, there is something of value that is real. And I think what that is that there was a greater degree of humanity, or a human connection was more present in the work. So you actually go and look at these old games, and you just, for a moment, just block the word nostalgia out of your mind. And if you actually pay attention to the old game, or whatever piece of media it is you want to use, for me, I'm going to go and picture... What am I going to imagine? I'm going to imagine, like, Ratchet & Clank 2 or something like that. You can imagine whatever game you want. Thanks, Luca, for the 2.
We are the broken promises generation.
Yeah. Yes, that's part of it as well. But this is beyond a back in my day it was so much better thing. It's beyond that, because just picture whatever thing you grew up with, whatever. And if you go and look at it now, don't just imagine, I remember. Don't look at your memories of when you were a kid. Go and actually look at the thing now. And you'll start noticing how actually it's really well built. and you didn't even notice. And you'll start, like, all the stuff I talked about a few streams ago when I was doing my level design with the trims, the limited colors, that kind of craftsmanship and care, you'll start noticing that in the majority of the older media that you would have played. And the reason why you even feel nostalgic is because you subconsciously noticed it, but you didn't know that you noticed it. So you will just reduce it to the one word, oh, it's nostalgia. But what that actually is you were impressed upon by the craftsman that made the thing. That's what that actually is. At least what I believe. And the reason I think this so strongly is because this is partly what this video I'm working on that I hope to release in the next few days. This is sort of what it's about. And I guess maybe I can use clips of this audio in the video, because I don't think I've quite done it justice yet in this video I'm trying to do. Because when everyone else is in my comments arguing whether Unreal 5 is the best engine, I'm thinking about this stuff. This is what I've been thinking about for years, and I've just never talked about it. And I spend a lot of time, like, studying the media that I liked and really trying to get to the bottom of why I liked it. And this is sort of the result I've got of all of that pondering and not being, like, on the internet all the time, constantly. The thing that I've been able to just sit with my thoughts for a while and think about it and come up with my own reasons of why I liked it. And as I started, like, really paying attention to, like, classic games, classic what have you, classic music, I start noticing all of those tiny things that they've done right that you wouldn't notice on the first listen. And I just feel that a lot of the stuff we saw on the PlayStation Store is completely devoid of that. It's devoid of the craftsman playing the game, which is doing all the little meticulous details, doing the making, you know how I was saying with car design, leaving an emotional impression on the driver. The AI slop games are not playing that game. That's why no one will remember those ever. It's not going to happen. So I don't know, because I've looked at old music, because I've got a library of music on my computer that I've not really changed in like 15 years. Like I've listened to a lot of the same albums for that whole time, and I feel this a lot with music. I don't know why it's easier to explain for music. I don't know why, but maybe it's because with music it's more personal. I don't know, because you know when you follow an artist, like if you like, I'll use Porter Robinson as an example, because some of you might be a fan of his as well. Or I don't know, because like I guess in the 60s bands were the thing, and I don't listen to a lot of bands, but a lot of the music I listen to is from usually one person. So like Porter Robinson, I'll just use him as an example, or Madeon, or those sorts of people. And I've noticed the value there beyond the music is the connection you have with the artist. So if you're a Porter Robinson fan, part of you really likes the music, but another part of you resonates with Porter, the person. And I'm trying to I don't know how to there's more to it than that, but there's something there that has been lost that could be in video games that a lot of the time isn't. That annoys me. Chef how do I pronounce that? Seth says, yeah, players can touch souls from caring devs. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Simply Green says, it's odd, I tend towards highly archetypal characters, but there are a lot of soulless ones. Interesting. I'll have to think more on that at some point. Cyber Shells Rev says, kids in the future, the brutalism of everything was so nostalgic. See, that's the thing is, I don't know, man. I wonder, will kids today feel nostalgic over brutalist architecture or CoComelon? Like, will they? I like, people assume that's a given, that you'll just feel nostalgic over whatever you were around. But will you? Like, what if one generation came about that didn't? Wouldn't that be terrifying? Wouldn't that be completely horrifying? I think that's pretty terrifying to me. But the second most terrifying thing is if they're nostalgic for Cocomelon or something. That'd be the second most terrifying. But the first most terrifying is if they're nostalgic for nothing. And that would be really bad, man. I don't know how to explain to you how bad that would be, but it would be bad. Very bad. Charles Dev says, it's been pretty irritating tonight. We called an ambulance at midnight because... Oh, we got a super chat. Sorry, I'll get back to you in a moment. Thanks, Tomuk, for the 20.
For some old games I look back at from time to time. I like to look at people's reaction to the opening from Wild Arms 1. Also the fact that game has the track Into the Wilderness helps.
Wild Arms. You've told me about that before, I think. Yes, yes, I remember you told me about Wild Arms. I haven't gotten a chance to watch anything yet. Sorry. I know you recommended it to me as an anime to watch. I've just been too busy. Sorry. Anyway, Wild Arms opening. We'll have a watch of that. We'll look at a bit. I don't want to get copy struck. You never know with YouTube. I remember when I was doing my streams last year, I got copy struck for showing the Olympics, footage of gymnasts doing flips in the Olympics. Is this the opening you were talking about? Whoa. We'll go through little bits. I won't watch the whole thing because I don't want Content ID to go crazy. Oh, I see what you mean though. This is a sick frame. Just you know what's funny? Because this is at like 240p. So I literally, all you see is the low res impression, and it's pretty cool actually. Even just with 240p pixels, this makes me feel more than that high fidelity header image on that game on the Sony website. Like this is such lower fidelity, but it feels cooler. I don't know how to put it. It's pretty sick. So what did you say about it? It was, you want to look at people's reaction. Well, you're looking at my reaction right now. But yeah, there's emotion here. It was made by humans that really cared. Now, I haven't seen this show. I don't know what it's about. But just the choice of this blue for the sky, I don't know what it is, but it feels otherworldly and sick. Like, the feeling of when watching this on a CRT would be an experience. But it's that feeling of when you start watching something and you are immersed in this other world that it's taking place in. And isn't it cool that they can do that at 140p? Has anyone ever thought about how cool that is? But just like the imagery, the planet, the glow, oh my goodness. It's pretty cool. I don't know what any of it means. I don't know what the plot, what's going on. I mean, anime intros are always pretty wild like this, but it's leaving it's leaving an impression on you, isn't it? All right, we've watched probably 30 seconds of it. I'm gonna get out of here before the Content ID comes. But thanks for recommending that. Hopefully my reaction was satisfying. Thanks, Luca, for the 5. Man, very generous donations today.
To me, games started to go downhill when games started becoming the most profitable form of media, and the stock market got their hands on everything.
Yeah. The thing is, it technically, it's profitable, so it must be good. And there's a degree to which that's true, but I don't know. I think what you want, I think, is you want it to be profitable and like spiritually fulfilling at the same time. You don't want to divorce the two. That's my personal issue with it, is how divorced it's become. I don't mind that games are the most profitable. I mean, that's good news for me. But I think what I personally don't like is how it's become the most profitable for like the wrong reasons. I don't know, that's what I think anyway. Because there are guys I know right now that are making way more than I am. Making 6-figure salaries, making the most soulless slop things that no one will remember. And they offered me jobs. They're like, oh, come work here, man. It'll be so cool. And I said no, because I'd honestly rather be a starving artist. But maybe, I don't know, maybe financially that's a stupid choice, whatever. But I'm enjoying the suffering more than whatever it is they have to make. I couldn't imagine doing that to myself, like having to, whatever it is they do. I don't want to say who it is, but it's like those sort of brand tie-in things that people do, where it's like, we're going to have the next Call of Duty skin and we're going to do it with Maybelline or stuff like that. Like, that's what the people I know, that's what they're into. And, well, I don't talk to them anymore. So, oh yeah, so to get back to Charles Dev here, it's been irritating tonight. We called an ambulance at midnight because my brother had chest pains. By 1:50 a.m., they hadn't arrived, and we decided to call back and cancel. Man, that sounds like a stressful day. Cancel it to be called because of the chest pain. They cannot just cancel it, and we'd have to wait till the ambulance arrives. Man, I'm so sorry, dude. That's stressful as heck. Very irritating. Well, I hope my ramblings have soothed your soul at least somewhat, and not have made your evening worse. But, yeah, ambulance, emergency services. I don't know how that whole system works, but that sounds pretty inconvenient and annoying. Drone says, putting Hatsune Miku, Goku, Travis Scott in our game is a crutch for our lack of personality. That's how it feels, you know? Yeah, good point. Mongo says, if something is spiritually fulfilling enough, then it will be profitable. I mean, that's kind of what I reckon. And here's the caveat on top of that. I think it will is the key word. It's not that it is, it's that it will be. That's what I believe. And maybe I'm crazy, but because a lot of people probably laugh at me for doing the most unprofitable thing right now of trying to do this project. But I don't know, man. Like, all the stuff we were just talking about, those are not thoughts I would be having if I was making the next, like, Call of Duty collab. I wouldn't be thinking those thoughts. And I'm glad I'm thinking these thoughts, even if it means I'm not making $100,000 a year or whatever these people are making. So, but that's sort of, I think what someone told me about this once, they say that's sort of like the Protestant attitude. Apparently Protestantism is a lot like that. And I was doing a lot of reading on that recently about, what was the book? The Protestant Work Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, I think is what it's called. And I need to read it more in depth, but I was reading like a summary of it. And the basic idea is sort of it's sort of similar to that, where it's like, the Protestants seem to have this idea of spiritual fulfillment and profit existing in harmony, where it was work. They viewed work as stewardship and not as a way to just indulge in pleasures and be rich. And I thought that attitude was really interesting. And I don't know, maybe I'm actually been a Protestant this whole time without realizing it. I don't know. Apparently that's the same, I think that was the religion a lot of American settlers had too, which could explain why a lot of Americans have that attitude. I read somewhere as well that, like, it's hard to notice it because it's so ingrained in American culture that people can't tell the difference between that and Protestantism or something like that, because it was just there early on as like a dominant religion, I guess you could say. So I don't know. But those are definitely the attitude of like, surely it'll have to work. People want to be spiritually fulfilled, right? That's what I want anyway. So I've had this page open on my desktop for the last hour as I've been getting through all that big prelude to this, because there's something else I'm going to show you. So there's all that context out of the way. So with all of that in mind, I've kept all of that just in the back seat of my head as I've been designing this mock-up. And this idea evolved a little bit after I'd made this design. Because here's the thing as well is, I'm going to use music. I'm going to get back to the music example, right? When I listen to artists like Porter Robinson or whoever, you picture whatever artist you want. I noticed that specific art form is a lot more individual than things like games. And I think games, maybe that there's exceptions to this, but I've noticed most games, people don't see them as like the way they would see the Beatles or something, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, when you hear actual boomers talk about the Beatles, and this is just something I've noticed, when you hear boomers talk about the Beatles, it's very little of the time I notice that they are actually talking about the music or the song or whatever specific thing. And a lot of the time they're talking about the band or John Lennon or whatever the other guys' names were, Paul McCartney. Like they have a profound attachment to the specific people that were in the Beatles. And I noticed a lot of the time as well, then the topic of discussion pivots to like all the infighting that was in the band or something. And I don't know, I've just noticed that it's a unique thing to authors and musicians. And I'm like, well, because games are kind of they're an art form. Why aren't they treated like that? Because when you think of a game, you aren't thinking about, like, there isn't the Beatles in games or something like that. Most people are just thinking, oh, it's the franchise, it's the Call of Duty, but they aren't. No one has an emotional attachment to Activision. But imagine if it was different. Or like Toby Fox's Drone Put. That's like one of the exceptions. That's a good example. That's kind of what I mean, actually. It's interesting to me that is the exception and not just normal. You know what I mean? So I thought more about that because I don't know if my videos give off this, I don't know what impression they give off, but I try to make the videos very relevant to the game. But there's all this stuff as well that I think is part of the journey to make a game that doesn't really have much to do with Gabby, right? Like, this is where I'm trying to read the room a bit and see what, like, because it's hard, because with YouTube, there's a bunch of stuff with YouTube when you want to make a video. You can't just make a video. You have to do all this other stuff, and there's a bit of that I don't like. But what I've also noticed is that game dev content, I've noticed, isn't in that realm of like the Toby Fox and the Beatles type thing. It's usually very clinical, technical, detached. And I know some of my videos are a bit like that, and it's something that has bothered me. And there's all the stuff that I want to be able to like take people along the ride with, if that makes sense. Thanks so much, Real FT, for subscribing for 19 months. I appreciate that. You're a real one. The Realist FD. We gotta change your username still to the Realist FD, because you are the realist. But thanks so much. But you know, because there's all these thoughts I want to somehow take you guys along the ride with, and I'm doing my best here on the streams to let you in on this. But you can't really make a YouTube video about it because there's no incentive. That doesn't get views, and if it's not going to get views, it's like YouTube doesn't want you doing stuff like that where it doesn't get views. So it's complicated. And also most of the dev scene is mostly just, it's technical. It's very divorced from this stuff that I think is more important. And I'm trying to work out how to marry the stuff that I'm actually thinking about to the work I'm actually doing somehow. But because of how YouTube it used to be the place, but it's become so depersonal that it just feels forced. I feel like I can't do it. So to show you I know I've got an hour build up to this thing I wanted to show you. So the concept of the website, I've sort of taken it a bit further. I had this mock-up and I thought this is pretty cool, but what if I took it up a notch? And I put together this mock-up based on the same layout as this, as a concept. And I'll show you some of the programming in just a moment. I know I've been taken ages to get to the point here. But I started doing this mock-up, which is slightly different in flavor to this one. Because here's the thing, because I do have a website. If you go to raymondcripps.com, I have a website. But you'll notice that there's nothing there. There's nothing really to do. It's just basically a glorified link tree that the purpose of it is to take you off the website to everywhere else. And that's bothered me for months. And that's a thing I had in the background. Also, the actual game website is also a landing page, and my own personal website is a landing page. And I thought, well, what if I merge them into just one thing? One domain that had all of that in it. So this is what this concept here is. So instead of like a website for the game, it's a website for like my studio, you could say, my bedroom. Because I'm just here in my bedroom, right? So I don't want it to call, because I know a lot of companies, they'll have like their, impromptu games website or something like that. And it's like, well, I don't have a studio, but I have a room. What if I actually turned my room into the website? And I had a little section for Project Feline in it, and then just other stuff that is sort of complementary to it, that goes into the game, that isn't necessarily directly related to the game exactly. Because I've noticed that a lot of the most valuable content, I hate that word, by the way, but that's the word I have to use. The most valuable content I've seen has usually been auxiliary, complementary things like that. So I've been reading a lot of old blogs lately. I've been reading Jonathan Blow's blog. I've been reading Adam Young's blog and a few other people, and Terry Davis's blog. And I've noticed that those sorts of sources have such high quality information, but they're also very personal. Not too personal, but you can feel the soul of the individual in the content. And I thought, well, what if I tried a bit of that in this web concept? So this is what I've mocked up. And what I'm envisioning here is basically, I can, like, this sort of stuff I'm talking about. Imagine if there was a concise post in text about what I've just said that you could read instead of having to be here for the stream. That's what I would want to do, because I'm really fast at writing. I'm very slow at editing video, but I'm a very fast writer, and I know that's something I could do and maintain more easily, just to have secondary to my other things, as I said last week. And imagine if it was organized well, and imagine an actual homepage where you could actually surf the whole thing and find stuff that, whether it was new or old, you could still find it, and you weren't buried under new content like YouTube is, where the only things you see are from 6 months ago and no older. Like, imagine that, right? I think that would be really cool. So this was the concept, and a cool little fact about this, to design it. I did the same layout, because I'm liking the 3-column layout, and that stuff I was showing about the 960 grid system and how commercially designed websites would do. I've tried to do a similar thing here with the layout and the 3 columns. But the interesting thing I did as well with the colors, to choose what colors to do and to pick what fonts to do and all that, I just picked colors from my actual room, which I was really fun, because it's a cool creative challenge. And it's like, well, I don't want to pick just white or gray or whatever. So I took photos of my walls and my desk and just the furniture, and I just used those colors as the website palette. So it kind of feels very personalized. It feels like me. And it was just so fun, man. It was so delightful. And it feels like a unique... What I want you to feel, and I thought this would be even cooler than just a game-specific site. What I want you to feel on this, I want you to feel like you're in here with me. When you visit this page when it goes live, I want you to feel like you've just walked in that door and you take a seat on this couch and you're in here, okay? But in the web browser. That's how I want it to feel. Because you notice how... I don't know, man. I just think that would be way cooler than the emotionless experience that is the web now. Like, yeah, I want you to feel something. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to make people feel, but if I can make them feel like they've just entered into my actual room, that's why I've got this little header at the top that says Razor Room, because I don't know what else to call it. And maybe that could be the site instead. And then that way, in the future, if I can maintain this long enough, when Project Feline's done, this can be the home for all my projects that I might want to do. And then, it feels more involved. And this theming, what I'm thinking here is, if there are feline-specific pages, like if I have a devlog with the link to the video and maybe a little blurb about it on this page, those pages could then have their own custom styling with this theme. That's just for the feline stuff. But anything else will just go to the default theme. Because I realized that with web design, if you're not using Wix, you can actually do that. And it's like, oh, cool. I could write, just change the color palette and fonts for, specific ones to make it feel more like feline, and then go back to this one. So that was just something that happened. I didn't plan on that happening, but I thought, that actually sounds way more exciting to me than what I was initially thinking. Cyberselch says, this would be legit if there was a CRT showing the game trailer. Dude, yeah, that'd be something. Imagine I could put that, right? Because I do have I could actually take a picture of that, right? And put it on the sidebar here and have a video playing. Because I've seen some websites do that, and I'm like, that would be so freaking cool, wouldn't it? So I could put that here on the side and have the feline trailer in my actual CRT. Wouldn't that be just sick? Like, wouldn't that be freaking cool? That'd be freaking cool. And I would actually enjoy being online. I would actually enjoy being on the internet and not stressing over YouTube Studio analytics and all this crap. That'd be so cool. And it's like, life's too short to ignore that idea, you know? And the experience of continuing to document this, making this game, would be so much more fulfilling to me if I had this space to be in as well. I think that'd be sick. Luca says it would be cool, but also heavy to load. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. I think as long as I don't do anything crazy, like from what I've heard, just avoid JavaScript is what I hear everyone say. So if I just do that, then I think it'll be fine. Seth says, my web is literally just a landing page, like just links, no story. Yeah, man. Like me too. Let me show you my current, I'm going to show you how embarrassing my current website is, dude. Because literally, you're probably feeling the same thing I'm feeling. This is my current one. And it's like, I've tried to put in some effort. I tried picking like, I tried to make it minimal with like, oh, I've got this pattern background and this font that feels playful. But like, honestly though, it's kind of lame. It's kind of And I do actually have some content on this website, but none of you probably care about this because I didn't care about building this. I just put it together because I had to. But I don't want to be on this site. I don't want to post stuff here because it's not made with soul. It's just like a train station. It's just a place to take you to other places. And then the actual game website, it looks a bit cooler, but it is still just a place to take you to other places. It's a bus stop. And it's like, well, that's kind of lame, isn't it? It is kind of lame. So maybe, Seth, you feel the same longing I'm feeling to have an actual cool... Because here's the thing as well is, I know that if I do this, some of you will want to do this. And imagine if we had a cool little network where I could see some of your sites and you could see my site. That would be way cooler than us talking on Discord or something, in my opinion. Because if you had like a site of your own that you linked me or something, whatever you choose to put there is going to tell me a lot more about you than one of your chat messages here, for instance. And I don't know, man. Like when I was you know how I was saying like 20 minutes ago, the human connection, why that matters? Because that's the thing that a financialist will not be thinking about. Someone that is part of the... one of you said that you don't like how everything just feels purely incentivized and everyone's only following like that whole idea. Those people aren't going to care about this thing because it doesn't show up on a dashboard. This is sort of like the McNamara fallacy, where people will tend to like only prioritize things they can measure. But this thing, whatever impression you have of this, I can't measure it. I can't have what's my engagement? Like, I can't measure that. Whatever impression you have is going to be beyond measurement, but it doesn't mean it. The McNamara fallacy is thinking that doesn't matter, but it does. I think it does. I think it does because that is the only thing humans have over things like AI or something. That's the one advantage we have, is we can do that to people. We can give them some kind of cool impression on something. We can make them feel something. And AI can't replace that. So it's that's why, to me, even if you want to look at it purely as business and commerce and, we got to market the game, even if you purely want to think of it that way, this still makes sense, because having a higher quality relationship with the players pays for itself in the future. And I don't know how to explain to you how I know that, but I just know that. And I just know. I can't explain how I know that, but that's how I am with the games I buy as a consumer. So I have to believe that is true. Even if you want to think of it purely as business, I think it's still sensible. But it's nice when there's more to it than just that, isn't there? Seth says, yeah, I feel you. I want a private blog too. I just need more time to build my Rome. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It does take time to build. Speaking of which, now finally I get to the part I've been spending 2 hours probably to show you. I got to find the window for it though. Where did I put it? I've got too many windows open. Was it this tab? No, what tab was it? So, I'd started coding it. This is just the mock-up. The actual thing itself doesn't look like that yet. And I'll show you how it looks right now. And I'll show you what I'm using to build it. So here's the... Don't laugh, okay? I know I'm laughing at it. Don't laugh. I know it looks a lot simpler, but look, I'm not a elite hacker programmer yet, okay? This is basic CSS styling for now. This is what I've been able to do. But it's got the skeleton there, right? I've got the sidebars in the middle, and I've got the right width and height. I've got the proportions the way I want them. I don't have the cool styling, but I've got some example posts here that have stuff on it. So that's what I got. I've had to learn HTML, CSS, and Hugo. This is what I'm using to build it. So I chose this because, and again, it doesn't really matter what you pick, honestly, but I chose this one because I didn't want to use a website builder like Squarespace or something like that. Firstly, because, I don't know, I feel like if you can just do this, then what Wix and Squarespace offer is like overpriced if this is all you need. Because they offer a bunch of other things that, like Wix, if I remember, they have a generative AI thing that I have to pay for. This isn't optional, by the way, but that they include it as part of the subscription. So, you know, that's delightful. And then they have like, and then you can have your commerce platform and you can have all of this tools. But I don't know, man, Wix feels kind of cheap, like plastic. I can't explain it, but I've never liked the Wix dashboard. That's what I made my old websites with, and I've never liked using them. And it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like plastic. So I've gone with this thing instead, and this is what's called a static website builder. So real programmers, and this is why I'm not a real coder, a real programmer would do it raw HTML and do the whole thing manually. But if I want to be maintaining this and not meeting friction constantly and having fun, I don't want to write all the content in raw HTML. I want to be a bit smarter about it. So what Hugo does is it basically constructs a static website using markdown files. So all of these posts here, if I go to my actual file browser, I'll show you the actual files of how this looks. So it looks something like the actual content, it's in this folder, and it's literally just a text file with markdown. So I wrote up a little like about me page, and it's literally just markdown. And I know how to write markdown because it's a bit simpler than HTML. And then what this thing does is that it turns it into a static website with like that loads very fast, that doesn't have all this bloat and stuff on it. So that's the version of it in Markdown. Oh, sorry, it turns it into HTML, but I write it in Markdown, and then I have a bunch of macros and stuff I do that decides the styling. It loads the CSS, it picks the fonts and all that, and the actual content is this part in the middle is just a Markdown file, and it just turns it into HTML. And I enjoy it. It's fun. I like it. And it's cool. I like it. I don't have much else on here yet because I got to work out how to do some of the other things, and the fonts aren't working for some reason. For whatever reason, because I had fonts picked out, but in Chrome they work, but not in Firefox, and I don't know why. So it's just Times New Roman right now. But I'm sure there's probably a way to get the font actually loaded. So imagine this. This is just one of the pages, but imagine a little project feline section in here. And I'm just using temporary colors and backgrounds just to mess around with. I'm learning. Okay, I'm not the Messiah. The Messiah would know how to do this already. So this is why I'm not the Messiah. I don't know what I'm doing. But I've got this going, and there is stuff on it. I could probably launch it as is now, but it would look it would look kind of average. Like I have a system, and I could make content in it, but I want to make it look the way it does in this. So I've tried to keep it simple. I've got just flat colors. I'm not using any shading or anything on this. I don't know how hard it would be to get these custom shapes. There's probably a way to do it though. But I want it, this is what it's, the vision that it's building towards. And this is it now. So I reckon in another week, I'd be a lot closer. The main thing is just getting the bones of it, getting the text set up to actually load pages. It took a bit of figuring out because I'm not a web dev, so I'm just winging it as I go. And the actual code, I've tried to be neat with it. I don't know if it's like, professional standards or whatever. But here's the CSS. I've tried to leave code comments and set variables for the colors so that if I want to change the color scheme, I can just go up here and change it, and it does it for the whole site. I've got my classes. I've had to learn what all this means. The footer stuff, the alignment. There's probably some stuff I'm doing wrong, but I'm learning. Okay, there's probably a better way to do all this. And then the actual this is the actual HTML that the Markdown loads into. So this is the way Hugo works. It gives you this base of HTML, and you load in these things as the header. So this has the actual this partial head HTML is the thing that actually loads the CSS. Do I have that written? No, I don't have that written. And then this loads the title, and then this in the navigation that loads the sidebar with recent posts. So here's the cool thing about Hugo is that I don't have to manually put these here. It'll automatically propagate this list with the most recent posts that are here. So that's the what would you call it? That's this I had a page for this here. Recent. That's that taken care of basically. That's programmed and will work. But I just don't have posts there yet. I do have posts I will put here eventually because I have years worth of blog posts I wrote that I just haven't shared with Project Feline stuff. And it's well, yeah, there's the content sorted out. I'll just put those there, and then I could just continue maintaining it. Hi, thanks for the 5, Luca.
Is there a place where we can share things with you, Ray? Like websites, tutorials, CSS, and stuff we think it could be useful to you.
Oh, good question. I've really made myself inaccessible, haven't I? Let me think. Because I have a Twitter and Instagram, but I don't check those often. I think you can message me there. I don't know. Give it a try and see if I don't know if I've got DMs enabled or not, but give it a try. And I'll remember to check it. That's something I do have to work out as well. Actually, the official way I have for the moment is, I'll show you the official way. The official way is that I have a contact page here, and this is managed through Wix, and it sends me an email with stuff in it, and that stuff I tend to see more often because it just notifies me about it. Whereas with I don't have notifications turned on for any of my other things. So every so often I'll check messages on other places, but it's not a habit. But with this, I will probably be more likely to see it. So it's meant to be for inquiries because a lot of people try to send me stuff, but I'm more likely to see something through here than the other means. So I'd give that a try. But I appreciate you wanting to send me stuff. Just keep in mind, because I'm trying to work out how because I'm gonna have to set up something else for this website. I won't be able to use that contact form anymore if I go ahead with this. And there's a question there of how would I want people to contact me, and maybe I'll just do a good old email address or something. I don't know. Because because the thing is, I get a lot of messages, and I just don't have time to check all of them. So I don't know if that's a problem that can be solved, really. So I don't know. But send me something through that form. I'll check my messages this afternoon, and I'll have a read. Thanks so much for the 5 once again. Seth says, you can make custom shape vectors in SVG format. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's great news. I was worried if I would have had to have made like Photoshop JPEGs or something like that. But if I can make SVGs, oh, that would be beautiful. Because then I could just have like these cool accents and stuff with like infinite resolution. Ooh. That'd be. Thanks for telling me about that. And that's the other way I check stuff, is that I check live chat, and if the fact is cool enough, I will just remember it. But yeah, learning how to make things like So if you have any like cool CSS stuff on how to make stuff with, I'll be sure to check those this afternoon and have a look through. I appreciate that. I found a site giving examples on how to make certain shapes in CSS and thought it'd be useful. Yeah, that sounds like what I could use some of that right now. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be sweet. I also tried replicating the shape you're trying to do. Oh, cool. Awesome. See, that's the thing as well, is that when I'm making these concepts, I'm just imagining, and I don't know how hard it is to make any of it, and I'm just doing what my imagination wants. So for these, I don't know if I'll keep this exact shape. I just did it because I wanted something more interesting than a square. But I think it fits the feline aesthetic quite well with this sort of thing. And as well, if you're the guy that's going to be like, oh, this is a big waste of time, you just work on the game, this will become relevant to the game as well. Because like I said, my menus suck right now. And imagine how much better the menus and the settings menu and the level select menu would be now that I have experience designing actual, like, this is design experience. This is what this is. And imagine how much better a job I can do with the game's menus. So this sort of stuff, like, I want to use this theming for CS, for any article on this page that's going to have like a feline focus. So devlogs or what have you. And that's, or like a land or a home page for the game specifically in here. Like if you click on Project Feline, it'll have like the trailer and some stuff about Gabby in it or something. I would want those parts of the site, those compartments, if you will, of the site to have this sort of aesthetic to them. But then anything that is not that is just my vibe, my aesthetic. But with the feline one, I think I will keep this sort of angular look because I based it on, I forgot to mention this. So the colors I picked for this site, I said that the ones I picked for my pages are based on my room. The ones I picked for Gabby are from her suit, if you've noticed. So I've actually themed the site itself as if it was made from the same people that made Gabby's suit. So you'll notice that you see the same sorts of 45-degree lines on her suit. And you'll notice the same sorts of angles on the actual page. And the colors is the same color scheme. And it's the same shape language. And I kind of started paying attention to this when I started doing my handmade textures for the level. And I don't know, I think when I get back to doing that, I'm going to be so glad I've done this. Because I'm going to have such a fresh perspective when I get back to the lab. And I'm pretty excited for that. So I know it might seem like you have to wait longer for the lab to be finished or whatever, but it's the journey that's important. And I like the more I work on this, the more I realize that taking your time is valuable and not to just rush to the end as quick as you can. Lucas says, oh, I've read that already. Seth says, making shapes has better in CSS with better compatibility, but SVG is already 90% browser coverage, so only old browser would break it. Interesting. MS Edge, that breaks everything. Well, good news, I'm not using Edge. I'm just using Firefox for the moment. Cosmic says, I'll look at Twitch chat for a moment. Look at the website like the official site for the indie animated series Far-Fetched. I have not heard of this. You can see what you mean in practice here. I gotta check that out. Far-Fetched. What indie animated series? I'll search that up. Ooh. Wow. This is not my cup of tea, but it's impressive. I probably wouldn't. This feels a bit too Tumblr for my. This feels a bit. I think maybe if I don't know, I wouldn't watch it, but this has character. I like the way it's built. They have a cat. Ooh. See, like, this is what I'm talking about. Imagine if the Project Feline site had this. Imagine if it had... Because I have so many renders of Gabby that I can't do anything with. Because I have them, and I use them for my YouTube thumbnails, and that's it. But I could put them on a site like this, and you guys could look at them, and it'd be cool. Interesting. Thanks for recommending that. So yeah, I guess my my flavor is a bit different, I suppose. Like my oh, where's mine? I guess you could say mine is a bit more, I guess, masculine, but it's that enthusiasm though. I like the enthusiasm of that site. It reminds me a lot of Total Drama Island for some reason, like the character designs and colors. Like this reminds me of Gwen from Total Drama Island. I don't know why. Strong, I don't know, the vibes. But who could give hovered text the same blue glow as Gabby's? Yes, dude. Man, you guys come out with such great ideas. Because that's the thing is, when you're in control and not using Squarespace or some junk web builder, when you're in control, you can do stuff. You get to exert dominion over the space like that, and that's sick. So I do have a little something here where if you hover your mouse over the thing, it'll change color and have a box around it. That's the best I've been able to do for now. But those colors are not accidental. Like I've chosen, like that blue is the neon blue. That's the same blue as Gabby's suit that I've got here. I'm not advanced enough yet. I'm not elite enough to have the cool shape yet. But when you can, it's just the intentionality of the choices. Like it's so much cooler than, with Wix, you can pick one of our free templates and you can pick one of our professionally designed themes. And it's like, it's just lame. It's just boring. You don't get room to have ideas like that. You know what I mean? Inspired to learn how to make WordPress template again. Do it, dude. I dare you. It would be so cool if everyone did this, because then I would have more cool websites to look at in my downtime. Because you know what here's the thing, right? Because this goes a bit deeper into other stuff that's just been on my mind. Because here's another thing. I might have talked about this last week, but the individual. You know how I was saying that, like, with music and stuff, you feel a connection to the individual, and maybe with the old guard of good games, you could sort of feel a connection to their studio, like old Bungie or something, right? But I've noticed as well the people. You think more about the people making it. What makes them who they are? Like, what makes Jason Jones Jason Jones? What makes John Romero John Romero? I spend a lot of time thinking about stuff like that. And what I think I've noticed is, you notice how there hasn't been a guy like that in a long time? There is no modern John Romero. There is no Zoomer version. Maybe Toby Fox, you might say that he's sort of there. But there's very few of them, right? And I've been thinking about that, and it's like, well, what makes them so cool and like remarkable and that stand out? And what makes their games so good? Now, I've noticed when I talk about this to game developers, they say, oh, well, they're just such good programmers. They have the best tools. But I think wasn't there some video where it's like Toby Fox's code is like spaghetti coded and it still came out good? So there's that. But I think there's something more to it. And I think what makes these people so interesting is their habits and their day-to-day habits of like what they think about, things like that. And something that's just been on my mind is the people that made games like old Halo, old Ratchet and Clank, or like old Sonic Team or something. What would a day in the life of them have looked like? And you know what I guarantee? You know what I guarantee their day didn't look like? Watching Instagram Reels. I guarantee you they weren't doing that. Firstly, because they couldn't, that's pretty cool. But nowadays, you actually have to, because that was the default back then, where if you were passionate about games, that's all you had to be, and you would just naturally cultivate the right habits, and you would make a breakout hit like Halo or something. But nowadays, I think there is so much in the way where you can't just be oh, I know how to code the best code. But that isn't enough anymore, because what's going to be in your way is so much more. Like, to even find good resources, there's all this junk info in the way, like top 10 programming tips. People, John Romero and those generation of people didn't have all that sewage in the way. But nowadays, it's just so filled to the top of sewage. I'm just going to use the word sewage. It's the best word I can use for it. And it's like, well, how, like, does that have an impact on the product? And I think it does. I think if you're surrounded by sewage, and to show you what I mean, let's look at, I don't know, if I type in, I'm not going to even open TikTok because I have an extension that blocks TikTok, so I can't even open it. But if we search like Google Images, like if your day-to-day is surrounded by stuff like this is sewage. And if you're surrounded by this, it will affect your output. It affects the product. It makes you I think it makes you like a lower quality craftsman if this is what your senses are being trained on. If this is what you're being exposed to. Now, in 2004, this wasn't a problem because you would just not run into this naturally. But now I think it is still possible to be that level and be awesome. But you have to put in a greater effort to avoid sewage that previous generations would not have had to do. And part of the cure for this, I think, is stuff like this. So that's why I would dare all of you to try and do this as well, because if I'm trying to think how to word this. How do I word it? I know the thought, but I don't know how to put it in English. I have images in my head of what I'm trying to do, but it's like imagine if instead of being tempted by YouTube all the time and like you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like the sort of stuff that you see that you kind of forget that you had watched that didn't really matter too much, like a video you might find of something that's like novelly interesting but you forget about immediately. Imagine if like you just never encountered that and you instead of spending your downtime in the sewers, you spent them in cleaner environments. Just imagine that for a moment. And imagine what your thoughts would become, and imagine your output, your creative output, if your input was cleaner and not sanitized in a corporate way, but spiritually sanitized. So you notice the thing as well about a homepage like that, I know this doesn't look spectacular yet, but you notice how there's no junk. You notice how there isn't like a pointy face, gaping mouth open thumbnail anywhere in sight. That's what I'm talking about. Or a YouTube short in the bottom corner playing or something like that. Now that's not to say I'm against any of that. Like ultimately, if I had ads on it, it would be probably, maybe I'd have to do that to maintain it. But even ads from 20 years ago were a lot less intrusive. Like banner ads, much less intrusive than the ones that interrupt, the ones that you have to watch first before a video, like video ads. I thought banner ads were actually, I prefer those personally, but I don't get control over what, I think YouTube used to let you pick, but I don't think you can anymore. You have to just have those full page ads everywhere now, which is a shame. Drone says junk food. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Junk food videos. Mongo says, you mean anything other than a Raymond stream? Yeah, basically, yes. But you know what I mean though, right? Because that's the thing as well, is that by me being here, I'm incentivized to create sewage. And I don't want to make sewage, but I have to. It's incentivized, it's profitable, but I don't want to make sewage. If that's something I have to do anyway, fine. But I want to at least have my own little refuge where I don't have to. I can just do what I want. That's what I, for the longest time, wanted my YouTube channel to be, but that's kind of not how YouTube works, really, sadly. So, but I'm doing my best with it anyway. Some guy says, well, selling out was a bad thing. Now you need to respect the grind. I don't know. I kind of don't feel angry about either of those. I think what I personally don't like is when you completely subsume to the incentives. And that doesn't mean not doing any commercial activity, because I think people confuse selling out with doing things commercially, which is like, you kind of have to if you want to live. So I don't hold it against people that want to commercialize. It's how you do it is sort of what I'm thinking of. So even this, I've got my little merch plug in here. Okay, I'm not gonna pass up the opportunity. But you notice how I'm in control. That's what I like. I can control the degree to which it's there, and I can do it artfully if I want. I can do it intentionally. Whereas with YouTube, I don't know what ads you're gonna get. I don't get any control over that. And also most ads suck now. Like, I'm not going to get into that, but most ads suck now, and there's a reason why they do. If you go and watch ads from 10, 20 years ago, you'll notice something really odd, where a lot of them were actually really good. So imagine if, what I would not hold, if one of you were making a site, I would not hold it against you at all if you had a little ad banner on it somewhere that had good ads. Like an actual well-designed banner with a well-designed ad for a product that actually looked cool. I wouldn't mind that at all, because you've at least had a degree of choice, and it's done with a bit of craftsmanship to it. It's playing the same game as the whole site itself, of leaving some kind of impression. But most ads now, they don't do that. They aren't playing the honorable game anymore, and they're doing something a lot more insidious that I don't like. But it's not because it's advertising. It's not necessarily that the medium of advertising that I have an issue with. It's just what it's turned into. But yeah, so imagine instead here you had like ads that were like the same kinds of ads you'd see in like 2002. Like, you know, the Old Spice ads or something? Like, imagine, just ideating, not saying I will do it, but let's imagine if all ads were as good as those. If it was, I wouldn't have as much of a problem, because at least that was a good ad, and it's sort of helping support the site or whatever. And that's the thing, is I know that's how YouTube, because you might wonder, well, how do you stop things from turning into what they're like now? And I think, you know, YouTube had to start doing that to be profitable. Fair enough. I don't have an issue with that. But I think where things began to, I felt friction is when they dropped, they leaned fully into the incentives only, and not to the part that wasn't measurable by analytics. And that's when you know how I keep saying you got to have both, and I think they dropped one of them, and that's how it feels to me. This just my opinion though. I could be wrong. Maybe you think of it differently, but that's just what I feel. And I don't know. I respect the people that can marry both of them, where it's not that they've sold out, but they're being commercially viable, but tastefully, if that makes sense. Because there's a lot of untasteful ways to do it. Cybercell says, like, some Flash game sites had Cartoon Network ads. Like, yeah, like stuff like that. Like, that to me feels in balance. It feels it's in the equilibrium of what I would accept. But if I was on a Flash game site, because with the Cartoon Network ads were cool, because it's like, oh, we got a cool show. We got Ben 10 airing and Channel 10 or whatever it was. And it was cool. But ads now, man, they're just not the same. Like, you ever notice how ads try to subvert you all the time? Do you ever notice that now? That didn't used to be a thing. You notice how ads now, instead of like selling you on how freaking awesome the product is, they're like trying to undermine you. Where it's like, it's Grammarly does this especially, and I hate it so much. I get these ads on my videos, and it's like Grammarly.com. Did you check your tone? Before you send that email, did you check your tone? You're a bad writer. You need Grammarly. And it's just like, can you shut up? You know, like, what the hell do you know about my writing? My writing is just fine, thank you. I don't need Grammarly telling me well, did you check your tone before you sent this? Like, it's undermining and it's subversive, and I hate it so much, dude. And that's most advertising now. And something's rotten, man. Something's wrong. Something is not right. It's very much the 180 opposite of Old Spice body wash power. Like, that's what I want, okay? I want someone that is so excited about their product that they're gonna scream at me and invade other people's commercials to tell me about the BO blocking power. But that's not advertising anymore. And yeah, man. It's look at what's happened. Now it's like, oh well, without our product, you suck. Is basically what they're telling you. But no, I don't want to be told that. I want to be told that with my product, you're amazing. Like Flex Tape. That's probably the last modern commercial I've seen that does the spiritually pure thing, where it doesn't try to make me feel like anxious or undermined or what have you. Where it's like, oh, well, if you fix this, you could do it that way, but that way sucks. You got to use Flex Tape, actually. If you're not using Flex Tape, then, well, you're doing it wrong. Like, that's every ad now. But the actual Flex Tape commercial, like, imagine if they did that. It wouldn't work. Their commercials, though, are so good because they aren't trying to do that to you. They're not trying to trick you into buying it. They're saying, look, man, we're going to just saw this boat in half. And we're going to show you, we're going to repair it, and we're going to show you what you can do with our product. Isn't that freaking cool? And I say, yeah, that's freaking cool. You can do, look at how empowered I can be with this thing. And it's just it's an attitude thing, right? There's something about the spirit of old ads that had a much more powerful aura that I feel is gone. And I wouldn't mind the YouTube advertising stuff so much if the ads had a powerful aura. But it's because a lot of it is so subversive and weak that's what it's not the ads that bother me. It's the attitude at how weak and like they're trying to put me down type thing. It damages the soul. And it affects people, okay? I know this sounds like a schizo rant. This will be my last schizo rant, but it's just look around you, man. It's happening. Like, don't you feel it? Seth here, you get it. That's why people nowadays feel so powerless. Yeah, you think that's an accident? Imagine how crap you feel if all you're being told is, well, you didn't... This paragraph is fine, but it's wordy. It's like, shut the hell up, man. I'll write whatever the hell I want, thank you. And I'm not paying for Grammarly. I'm going to write it my way. You know? If Grammarly wanted to convince me, they'd have to go the Old Spice. Okay? They'd have to do something like, look how awesome your writing would be with Grammarly. That's what they should be telling me. But you notice how they're not doing that. It's interesting, isn't it? So anyway, Cosmic says, something is Robbie rotten with the culture that our world ingests. I could not think of a better way to put it, my friend. Something is Robbie rotten. Actually, man, that's such a great visual, because that's how Robbie Rotten behaves. He's looking around at Lazy Town. He's like, kids exercising? Well, we can't have that. That's literally what it feels like is happening right now, isn't it? That's such a great visual. You see him looking at kids exercising outside. He's like, oh, I must put a stop to this. I must thwart my next plan. And then he launches some campaign to, like, undermine the children. Isn't that, like... Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but something is Robbie Rotten with the culture, Hiroshi. That is the most apt way of putting it. All of what I've said, you've condensed it down into one high-quality sentence. And that's incredible. It basically, yes, something's Robbie Rotten with the way things are. Ads in the future. You need me, fool. Honestly, I would respect that more. At least it's confident. But that's not... a lot of the ads are just not confident, man. Drone says, why is Robbie Rotten looking at kids exercise? I mean, that's what he does in the show, right? He's got his binoculars and he's looking around, and anytime anyone's doing anything healthy and good for them, he literally has a seizure and he starts reacting. And he goes like, what? We can't have... And yeah, then that's the episode's plot. That's what happens. Man, they were trying to warn us. Robbie was trying to warn us. That was a real thing he was warning us about, man. That wasn't just a comically funny villain for no reason. He was teaching us to recognize the threats. It's just Robbie Rotten makes them look harmless. But anyway. Ovena says it's so true. I mean, I guess, yeah. Ovena said it's true, so it's true. And well, we got to do something about it. And you know, that's a gradual, slow process, but it starts with people doing stuff. If you shift your habits away from where this is going on, and you just stuck to your own little corners of the web instead, then you have that problem a lot less. And if your mind is not being constantly psyoped by Grammarly, imagine how much higher quality output as a creative person you'd have. Think about the guys writing the best books. Think about Frank Herbert writing Dune. Could you imagine him writing Dune, and when he goes to eat lunch, he opens his phone, and the first thing he sees now, this paragraph is okay, but it's wordy. Could you imagine if he had been constantly exposed to that when writing Dune? Could you imagine the mental damage? Like that does do something. Because now part of his brain is processing the psychological warfare of this Grammarly commercial. And that's interfering with the thoughts he could be having about his plot that he's writing. So that's why I care about it. And I know that it might seem like off topic or whatever, but that's why I care about it, because I basically want to turn myself into how did Mongo put it? The angry boomer. That's what I want to turn myself into, because those guys made some pretty cool stuff, and they weren't being constantly subverted with Grammarly commercials, and they made some pretty high quality stuff. You know, what did boomers do? They made Lord of the Rings. They made what was C.S. Lewis's thing that he did? Narnia. They made some great stuff, and they weren't using Grammarly, interestingly. So okay, look, guys, you're reading too much into Lazy Town, okay? I don't want to... Okay, you're writing weird stuff now. I don't want to think about that part of the show. But it's you know what I mean, though. It's like Robbie Rotten is an archetype. It is not a fictional character. So that's what I got from it, anyway. How are we doing for time? All right, I got to get going. But thanks for joining me once again on... week 10 of Schizo Rambling with game development and web dev on the side. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are feeling compelled to follow in my footsteps here, do it. Don't just sit around watching me and go, oh, that sounds so cool. I wish I could do that. You're going to log off now, and you're going to start doing this as well. And I want to see... Well, when I have this done, I want to have some kind of better contact form or something. And then maybe you can send me what you guys make. And then we can have our own little social network. You know, that's how we like it. Or something like that. That's what I think that'd be cool. So, yeah. So thanks for joining for another stream. I'm going to have a video out definitely by next week, going over some of these things in a more game development context. And I guess we'll have something to talk about for the next stream then. So I'm going to get back to the editing bay, get my B-roll in, and I will see you for that video when that drops. So hit the bell, subscribe, click all my links in the description, do all that stuff, and I will see you then.